we started in Munich, we went to New Zealand, Wellington, and now we're coming back to Europe, to Budapest, Hungary, which is actually my home country. So we will have Ákos here joining in a second. But if you are just joining now, you may be asking yourself, what is this whole thing? Well, this is 24 hours of UX, where we are bringing you 24 hours of live content of UX from around the world, from grassroots organizers. So it is this initiative was started by Jesse, Anton, who is on the screen as well, and myself, based in Geneva, Switzerland, both of us.
Right.
And we bring, just like all of the other groups who are present here, every month we bring a physical event to the UX community and digital strategy community here in Geneva. And of course, with the current situation, we couldn't do that. So we're thinking, how could we still bring that value and still stay engaged? And we thought, well, we could do one of those virtual events that many groups do, or how about we teamed up with a lot of other teams? So within a couple of weeks, we've been able to reach out and get the support of 20 other teams and 8 keynote speakers, among them Susan Weinschenk, Jake Knapp, Phil Balaktas, who already spoke. So there's a lot of great stuff still coming up. And there are also 20 cities, all of them having a group or represented by a group, a UX group who organizes grassroots events in their own region. So, that is the 24 hours of UX. And although we are the initiators, we are in no way the organizers, because every hour is being organized and owned by another group. So I think that Budapest might be having some problems joining. So in the meantime, I will give you I'll ask if Ákos is hearing us from the Budapest, Hungary team, if he can try to join again via audio and video. But in the meantime, I will give a quick rundown of this platform. So this is Hopin, and there are 4 main things, as you can see on your left-hand side. There's the reception, where you see, it's useful because there you can see all the remaining schedule. So you can actually, see what's coming up, and you can put it in your calendar to hop into another 1 hour later on in the day. So we are 2 hours down and 22 hours still to go. Lots of coffee and tea to be consumed until then. We have the stage.
I need one.
So we have the stage, which is this one, where we have continuously live broadcasts. So this is what we're doing right now. And there are the sessions as well. So once a country or city or group presents their 1 hour, they then go into a session. And in the session, you need to pick that city and go into their session, where you can join via your audio and video. Up to 20 people can join and have a much more intimate discussion down on the stage, which is really a sort of a main stage, rather a broadcast experience. However, also here you can express your opinion in the chat. Having said that, also if you did the Wellington session, you can go to the poll and vote on how you like that one. And the last piece in the Hopin's opportunities is networking. So if you don't want to listen to a talk or you don't want to participate in a session, you still may want to connect with a fellow UXer. So networking pairs you up randomly with another person who is also in the networking. And you can have a 5-minute discussion just to kick things off, and then afterwards you can connect on LinkedIn or here in the chats as well. So we are not yet having the Hungarian team yet for some reason. I will very.
Ákos said he was reloading his screen.
Okay. So we will have that in a moment, and this is it. Like, bear with us because there are bound to be some challenges in the 24 hours that we will be online, and it seems this is the first one. We also have a little mural. So if you look at the chat, at the top of it, there is a message pinned that says "Show yourself on the map." That links to a mural wall where you can put a little pin on a map showing your location. You can also add a little message on a virtual post-it note. And we have Ákos. Yes, perfect.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Whew.
Sorry, I reloaded it like 7 times and got an error message.
So,
yeah, I think that's the word of the day here. A lot of people watching from all over the planet have had to reload their screens. So when in doubt, reload.
Great advice. So as mentioned, you can already interact in the chat. You can interact on the mural, and you can interact after each talk in the session. And without further ado, I will hand it over to Ákos to introduce their group, UX User Experience Budapest, and talk about their speakers and what they're going to be presenting.
Thank you so much, Peter. And you already did, I guess, the introduction of the 24 Hours of UX initiative that you're doing. So welcome from the really sunny, usually Budapest, but today it's raining, so don't come here today. So our group is User Experience Budapest. It's also just like the others, another local grassroots user experience meetup group. We started out, I think, a little bit over 10 years ago. And during these 10 years, we have always been able to avoid having a remote conference. So this is a first for us. This is why we are sucking with the tech. Today we are going to have 3 speakers for you, and our theme, our overarching theme, is going to be fast to market in the time of Corona. So all of our speakers are going to tell a little bit about stories of lean UX, lean research, getting products to the market as quick as possible. Yeah, I don't think I should be bullshitting anymore here. I'm calling to the stage our first speaker, Kata Füge, who is a product designer from a Budapest-based product studio called Chappers. And she's going to tell you about eGov solutions in the wake of Corona crisis. Yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you so much.
And welcome on.
Thanks a lot. Can you hear me all well? Yeah, I would take that as a yes so far. Lovely. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the feedback. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you today. I prepared a little presentation, so I'm going to share my screen. I hope that will help the presentation in a way. So let's just try that. And yep, there we go. It's still loading, as I can see, but now you're supposed to see the slides. Lovely. Okay, so absolutely thank you for this opportunity. We are very thrilled to participate today. I'm Kata Füge, and I'm a product researcher at Chappers. And today I would like to talk to you about an application that the company designed and developed for a municipality office in Budapest, in Hungary. And the goal here, it was quite a big goal, was to help the coronavirus, and I will walk you through in detail about how we managed to do that. I will also highlight a couple of takeaways, and I will have a question for the whole UX community at the end, so I hope you will enjoy it. Yep, so let's see. Nice, so basically, the situation here was, as I'm sure you have all experienced this throughout the globe, was that from one minute to the next, the whole house was on fire, and it was quite difficult to decide where to start managing all of the issues. And this was the case with this application as well. And in terms of the UX design and the development, it was kind of the issue of prioritization. So how would you decide what to start with? What features would be included in the MVP? And then how would you move forward? What features would you include in the second or third iteration? So this was basically what we were dealing with. Just to give you a little feedback about the company itself, Chappers, a development company which is based in Budapest in Hungary and also has offices in the US in New York City. And imagine our Budapest office like this. We have more than 40 developers, and we also have a 5 people strong UX team. We have a business designer, 3 UX and UI researchers and designers, and I'm also a product researcher. So there's one more very important thing that was quite essential during this particular project, is that Cheppers has already been working with participants of the public sector and government organizations, which provided us with a little experience and a little bit of context in terms of how to work with clients like this. And to give you just a bit of context in terms of the product itself, as in many other countries, the government in Hungary also ordered restrictions on free movement of people in March 2020. And organizing the care for persons in need became the responsibility of local governments. Now, Budapest is the capital of Hungary, and it has 23 districts. And one of these districts, each district has a mayor's office, and one of these mayor's office contacted Cheppers. It was the 15th district of Budapest, with the task to build a mobile application and also an accompanying website that serves as a platform for locals who are in difficult situations, and they could use this tool to ask for help from the mayor's office with this application. Then, when we heard about this task, we heard about this mission, we had to come up with a product concept. And in that product concept creation, I have to say that the client was very cooperative, and this was a very good part of the whole project, how they participated in the whole process. And as I'm sure that Attila and Adam will also talk about this, in such urgent situations, it's a very specific environment for product development. But in this case, it was actually a great advantage for us that we had experience in this field. And also we had experience with a particular client with a previous web redesign project. So this provided very much needed and also tried and tested communication. And I think that both of these things were quite important in the success of the application itself. And of course, it also created a situation and created an environment in which we were really able to come to fast decisions. And it really helped the product get fast to the market. Okay, so now I would like to show you a couple of features and how these features extended and evolved as the pandemic evolved as well, and how basically real life situations and the involvement of the coronavirus triggered these features and influenced the product development process. So first of all, as we have again all experienced throughout the globe, we all had to stay home. Basically, the client's primary request, as I mentioned, was to build a platform where citizens can submit their help for requests. The client claimed that they already had quite an abundant network of volunteers. So basically that was okay on their side, but they were quite unable to collect help requests effectively in this SOS situation. So they really needed an application for this. And so in terms of version 1, we were focusing on that platform in a help request. The client also asked us to include the contact to the general helpline, which is, I believe, 112 is not only in Hungary, but also throughout the whole European Union. So we included that information and also general information and news related to the COVID crisis, which really enabled all users with the context in terms of what was happening around them. But as the pandemic evolved, it was quite clear that basically the most affected group in the society was the elderly and people above 65 years. And it is true that many people in this age group do own a mobile device, but obviously they are generally not that tech savvy, and probably they would not necessarily turn to a mobile application when they were searching for help in a situation like this. So in this circumstance, what became very clear is that there is a need for a feature through which people can ask for help for others. So just to give you an example, let's say that your grandparents are living in this particular district of Budapest and they need help. So you as a granddaughter or grandson can ask for help for them through this app from the mayor's office. So in this phase, we developed this feature. Then the quarantine prolonged, and it was quite clear, and also the mayor's office was anticipating this, that people are going to ask for help repeatedly. So if you were needing any support with shopping, let's say, then obviously you're going to need that same support the next week and the week after. So for that reason, it was clear that we needed a registering, an account registration feature as well. So we were working on that, but there were three core challenges faced in that level or in that stage. One of them was that we needed new user flows, but this was in connection with the backend system of the whole application, and there were certain compatibility issues between version 1 and then this version. So that really needed a bit of a rework. And also with the registration of these accounts, there was an administration platform in need through which the mayor's office could better manage all of the people who were asking from them. And of course, it's true that the mayor's office has been receiving help requests long before the corona crisis. So they were, of course, collecting such requests through the phone and through email. But they really needed a better administration platform to manage all of these requests that were coming in from various channels. So basically at this step, Chappers developed a whole administration for the client. And it was quite important that we could effectively collect all of this information from the various channels. So eventually, it's not only the application which feeds this data into this mayor's office admin platform, but also the email and the phone requests can be edited through this system. But of course, as the whole pandemic was evolving and as the whole situation was evolving, weeks passed, it was quite clear that the mayor's office was running out of their network of volunteers. So it was quite essential, and this was a feedback that we were getting from the client, that they somehow needed this application, COVID Helper, to be able to recruit for new volunteers. So that was an extra feature that we had to add in the application, a platform through which people who wanted to help, who wanted to participate in the real hands-on support, they could also register through this. But eventually, and I'm sure this is also something many people around the world experienced, the financial crisis that was coming in the aftermath of the coronavirus was also something that really crippled societies around the world. And this was also the case in the 15th district of Budapest, because the office recognized there were many requests coming in through the app as well, which were asking for social assistance. And this pretty much shed light on a quite crucial consequence on the coronavirus. Beside the health hazard itself, citizens really experienced very severe financial difficulties as well. But the mayor's office said that they are able to help a little bit on this situation through the application. So they were asking for an opportunity for users to be able to fill out social assistance request forms through the app. Now, of course, there is quite a significant challenge here, because most of these forms, as we all know, really require the submission of really long information, personal information, and it's quite inconvenient and also often quite prone to mistakes to be filled out through a touch screen, through a mobile device. So what we decided to do is to not introduce this feature on the mobile platform, only through the website. This feature is currently in the development phase, but this is the decision that we made altogether. So these were the features that I wanted to share with you, and now I would like to move on to a couple of takeaways that we learned throughout this process. So basically, the first thing that was really interesting to experience is the agile process in such an SOS case. Obviously, in such a time crunch, we didn't really have an opportunity to conduct a classic UX research to support the application. However, we were able to make up for the lack of the research in the beginning of the process with two factors. One of them was the abundant experience of the UX designer who was working on the project and leading this UX process, Reika György. So her work was absolutely super fast and very efficient from the very beginning. But also another factor that was really that really enabled Chapters to bring this product very fast to the market was the fact that this company is working together in terms of the UX and the development phase. So basically, the in-house development team was able to really start working with the designs and with the plans very fast. And that really helped us work together quite effectively and solve all of these issues that came up throughout the process really fast. The second takeaway that we learned is the role of the client, again, in terms of how fast you were able to put a product on the market. So obviously, in this case, due to the very specific circumstances, the client was facing very high risks. And it was essential that they were able to manage this situation as effectively as possible. So they were obviously very highly invested in managing this situation and coming up with a working solution. And that really resulted in a very avid cooperation from their end. And they were providing us Chapters really good feedback after all of the features, and they were really trying to help the whole development process. And I think that was quite important in terms of how fast we were able to put the product to the market. Now, there was also one more issue that was quite key, and that was the App Store and Google Play reviews. So obviously, the goal of both of these platforms in the COVID crisis was to not allow the dissemination of any kind of fake news related to the COVID crisis through their apps. So that meant that the review process for these applications was extra long, and it really took an extra effort, a lot of information from our end to be submitted to these platforms before they reviewed. And one of these informations that we had to submit, for example, was an official statement from the mayor's office as the client that yes, all of the information that is being put on this platform is valid, and they are taking the responsibility for all of that. But this extra step really got the whole project a little bit lagged. But a good part of the MVP approach was that once we got version 1 approved by the App Store and Google Play Store, further iterations and further versions got accepted a little bit faster. So the MVP approach really paid off in this case as well. So these were our features and the 3 takeaways. And I would like to keep this question out for the global UX community. Our experience with this particular project showed that maybe the COVID-19 crisis is supporting the digital transformation in governmental services. This is precisely what we have seen through this app. And I'm very curious what you were thinking of it. So obviously, if you will be heading to the session section of Hopin afterwards, we'll be happy to discuss this part. And thank you so much again for this opportunity. Please do find out more about Chapters and also about our application through our website. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Hey.
Thank you very much, Kata. And as I have also posted in the event chat, now in between the talks, we will not have a Q&A session. So please just post your questions. And if there is enough time between the talks, we will have some kind of Q&A session to make sure that we are exactly on time. On the other hand, after this session is over, after our talks, we will be gathering in the sessions section in the UX Budapest session. The button for the sessions is right there. So around 10:05, we can gather there and you can ask all your questions live to Kata. Still, please post them in the event chat. We are collecting them and we are going to, at least Kata is going to answer all your questions. So while I'm talking, I think Attila, our next speaker, is already ready to start his talk. Yeah. Thank you again, Kata. Attila is also a product researcher, and he's going to tell us about his story with behavioral and emotional design. And again, in the wake of Corona, because this is 2020. So Attila, the stage is yours.
Okay, can I get some feedback? Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay. So, hey guys, I'm Attila Meki. I'm a product design researcher with a background in psychology, and today I am going to talk to you about Practice Living. And the Practice Living is a brand that we have launched under the COVID-19 situation, and the first product that we have designed for this is an activity organizer. So I'm going to talk a bit about this, our reaction to this coronavirus situation, which is a bit different from what we have been hearing so far, but it has been a very fruitful exercise for our design team, or we could say design network here in Budapest. So Practice Living is a psychology-heavy activity organizer booklet, basically a series of exercises which you can use to adapt to a new life situation. So if there's an externally or internally triggered change in your life, the context that you live in changes, the resources you have access to changes, then you want to review your activity, prioritize them, change them a bit, and adapt them to a new life routine. So at the core of the product is the term activities, or the field of activities. And what you do with this product, with this line of exercises, is basically map them out and select the ones that you want to change, that you want to fit or adapt to the new changed environment. And of course, this was the design of this product was triggered by the COVID-19 situation. But from the very beginning, we strive to create a sort of timeless product that reaches beyond the COVID-19 situation, so it could be used later. And this was a kind of supported by the feedback that we have received, which was very interesting. After the research that we have done and finishing the MVP version of the product, we started testing. And my colleague Fanny had a casual conversation with a retired professor of sociology, who took a big interest in this product and actually asked for the MVP version. So we sent her over, and she actually sent it to 5 of her friends, and they organized a focus group feedback session to give us feedback about the MVP. Previously, we didn't plan to do testing with elderly people, but they actually organized a feedback session for themselves, because it turned out that this situation, the COVID-19 situation, actually synchronizes a problem that elderly people face when they retire. So when you retire from your job, you lose your daily activities, daily routines from one day to another, and need to adapt your life to a new life routine. And what basically happened is a problem that is similar to very different groups of people: young moms, sportsmen, or people who are retiring. Actually became a global problem. So each of us had to deal with the same problem. So this is something that the COVID-19 situation does in terms of product design, and this is why we started this project. As product design researchers, we saw that the COVID-19 situation and its governmental and municipal regulation response actually has a lot more effect on people, a lot more social effect on people than than how dangerous the virus is. So we could say that it was apparent from day zero that the human side of the coronavirus, the human response to the coronavirus, is affecting much more people than the virus itself. And in a crisis like this, a product design researcher is very interested or excited, at least we were, because suddenly all the population's customer jobs and customer needs and customer wants that the product design researcher is interested in, so they start to synchronize. So they have the same problems, and creating a product for that is very, this is the time when you want to do a full-blown design sprint, starting from scratch and doing it in an explorative way. But there's another way that COVID-19 synchronizes our needs, and that's the management role or management effect, I could say, of the situation, is that it affects every expert that we worked with. So when you want to create a product in a time-to-market race, you basically want to create a sense of freedom, so everyone can focus on solving a very open problem in a very creative way. But you also want to create a sense of urgency to deliver in time. To basically, you want to, as a product manager, you want to pressure people to deliver creative output, which is a kind of like you want two very different things at the same time. And this crisis actually helped us in that. So we did this product. In this presentation, I'm going to show a few screens of the product, and also please follow the red dot. So I will try to focus your attention to the important parts of the page. So this product was born in the cooperation of Demola and Pine, which are two early stage product studios, and the psychologist Kitty Jakobowicz, who took the most important professional expertise, or put the professional expertise in the product. And also there was a bit wider team, design team. This was the team that actually worked for 1 month in this product, but we were able to involve an additional 10 people because everyone felt the same way. We just had to do something. Everyone felt that there is a global problem, and I am an expert, I am a professional, I want to help solve this problem. And it was easy to involve a very wide range of researchers, actually, because everyone felt the same way. So as a product design researcher and a product manager, I would say that I would look for like the opportunity when an external crisis, I could say, brings together people and creates this sense of urgency and sense of freedom at the same time. And because that's a very special time when a product can be born. And also at the very beginning, we started by contacting the team behind the Year Compass, which is something that the Practice Living booklet is very similar to, and we cooperated during the design session with them, and it was a very smooth cooperation for the same reason. So they just wanted to help some way, and they supported us by consulting us. And the second point is more about the soft side of the product. The product was the marketing itself and the instructions inside of it were really relief-driven, I could say. So there was a big so as events unfolded and people were confined to their homes, they changed their behaviors in many ways. And one of those was actually that they started using social media very extensively. And social media has had a very narcissistic, I would say, reaction to this crisis. So an average white male like myself was like the newsfeed was filled with content that described that I should basically listen to classical music concerts while ironing my clothes, and I should become a master chef or master baker and a yoga guru at the same time to make the best of this quarantine situation. And for many people, this is not very healthy framing of the situation, because like I am already being regulated by by a national level and the municipal level. So I am already being told what to do, and social media suddenly starts to prescribe me a new sets of behavior, which also includes that I should be happy and clapping and have a smile always, and grow and be self-develop while I'm in this situation. So we basically aim to find this narrative by creating a brand narrative and the instructions of the booklet itself to let people free of this like controlling narrative or controlling framing. And this is where suggestive communication comes in. This is something that you should look into. It's actually an applied field stemming from the domain of hypnotherapy. And it was actually developed for maids and nurses and midwives to help mothers during labor in the process of giving birth to a child. So it's basically the principles behind how to instruct mothers giving birth. And this is it's basically the psychology behind what's the difference between there is no problem and everything is all right. One of those is filled with negative sentences and negative words, and one of those is filled with positive words. And this is something that we have adopted in the product quite, I would say, successfully. Again, I'm going to focus your attention. So this is an exercise where you plan a specific type of day. And this exercise will tell you that there's a large box here, and you cannot plan with this box because it is filled with an unknown activity. So this is a day when you cannot plan all of your activities because something comes up. And And here's the suggested communication part of it, where if you have a sudden burst of laziness, it's okay. So this actually came up in the research sometimes, that it's like this COVID situation became sort of like a long weekend for everyone, and everyone has a lazy day sometimes. So this is suggested communication, letting people acknowledge the hard parts of the context, and also giving them a sense of control by assuring them that this is okay, this is something that you can do, and no, you don't need to become a master chef to make the best of this COVID situation. So I could talk a bit more, but I don't want to because my time is over, but I will be in the waiting room and have some more talking points to show you. Please check out the product. You can actually access it in, this is actually 2 clicks, like 5 seconds to download it. And also if you are a UX practitioner and want to develop in using psychology, then I really suggest Googling these terms. So thanks for that.
Thank you very much for your talk, Attila. And also, as Attila will be in the UX Budapest session after 10, so you will be able to ask all your questions about this fantastic project, and he will answer anything, even questions that you are not asking, because we have a couple to discuss with him. Thank you very much again, Attila, and let's welcome on stage our third and last speaker today, Adam Németh. Adam, thanks God that we are starting 1 minute early, because Adam has a tendency of disrespecting the speaker timer, so please now don't. Adam is a regular speaker at UX Budapest events, and today he's going to tell us about one of his really very COVID-related educational projects that is absolutely fabulous. So Adam, please tell us your story.
Hi, everyone. I completely disagree. Keep my time. Just to check, anyone can hear me? And no, I can't make the screen bigger. Unfortunately, a lot of people ask me, but no double click.
A quick thought on that, Adam. So if you're in the audience, then it depends. It might depend on your setup, but if you double click on the image that you want to make bigger, then that will become bigger. So that could or should or hopefully will work on your side as an audience member.
Okay.
Over back to you, Adam.
Okay, so let's start. On the 13th of March, which was a Friday, and it was the 13th week of the year, our Prime Minister, Mr. Viktor Orbán, has announced that from Monday on, public school system will have to switch to remote, something it has never done in scale. It did for students who were in hospitals for long terms, but never done in scale. I wasn't prepared. I was prepared more than a lot of other people, but I wasn't prepared enough. You see, 2 days prior to that, I met 2 people who said that it will happen the week after, and they had some ideas on what are the problems and how to solve it. And the problem was plausible, but the solutions were not. So I said I would help. And how does a product manager try to help these situations? First, I set up a landing page in WordPress. Then I got a CRM system, shoot out for Mini CRM. Thanks for letting us use your CRM systems. So CRM system basically 2 parts: schools and volunteers and offers. We set up communication channel. Of course, it was Slack. We had a group where it was G Suite. And I hired a domain expert. Thanks for Kobak for joining so early, because I needed someone who actually knows this stuff. He's a digital teacher. He did a lot of digitalization of teaching, and he's the leader of the hospital school project. Now, I set up a Thursday evening, and And by Friday morning, I had 16 schools, which is cool, great for interviews. Then at midnight, we had 60 schools. I was a bit worried. And by the morning, I had 160, and all of them came to my inbox. So people asked, okay, what now? I said, I have no idea what now. I haven't talked to any schools yet, but I know how to get to know what now. So the US researcher's main rescue is, of course, interviews. And even in a crisis, I do interviews. I quickly collected everyone's stereotypes on what they think is the situation, generated the questions within half an hour, I guess. Then I asked them to schedule 6 participants, 1 each hour. And there were about 4 to 5 UX people. One was to ask the questions, the rest was to take the notes. And of course, just like now, 2 people, the participant and the questionnaire was on mic and visible, and the others were silent. 40 minutes of interview, then 10 minutes debrief each hour, and 5 minutes of rest, because 5 minutes was usually technology. And then the top 10 insights from every note taker went to Trello board. After the last interview, just as it closed, they asked, okay, sorry, thanks for Valeria, Rita, Kati, István, and then later Zsófia and Charolta for joining us in this experience. So after the last interview, they asked me, what now? We haven't even finished processing the interviews. I had some ideas, I said them, later it turned out to be wrong, but this is how it goes. So we collected the interviews, of course, we had insights, we had how might we's. I'm sorry, this is small and Hungarian, I know, just an illustration. And of course, the initial assumptions of the founders were wrong. Well, they always are. This is why we always do user research at the beginning, because the assumptions of the stakeholders are usually wrong. And I've designed a survey. One of the reasons to design a survey, of course, to get quantitative data, whether, is it representative what we've just seen. The other was to send the message to the teachers that don't worry, you've got this. We asked them, for example, that do they have a messenger group with the children? Most of them do. We asked them, did you do PowerPoint presentations recently? Most of them have PowerPoint slides of their talks. And basically for the first week, it was enough to send the PowerPoint slides to the messenger. And once they got into the mindset, and we asked them, did you do remote collaboration with anyone on anything? Most of them did. And then they realized that it's not that hard. It's not a different word. Some of them imagine that from tomorrow, there will be 30 little thumbnails on the screen, and they will be talking to them. Of course, this isn't how public broadcasting works. But it's still not a single skill. You have to know your tools. You have to know how to teach. And also, it's remote project management, because these children will be available at different hours because of the parents, because they're too small space. You have to know, of course, IT, and you have to create materials sometimes. And feedback is important in an asynchronous situation like this. Right now, I don't see your faces. I know there are 800 of you, but I don't see any faces, unfortunately. This is how different is a classroom. But teachers are good at how to teach. Scrum Masters is good at remote project management. We had a lot of IT people, Scrum Masters, developers, copywriters, marketing. So I saw that, okay, let's build a big organization. The roles are technology stacks, like Microsoft Teams was one technology stack, Google Classroom, another technology stack, Moodle, another technology stack. And there are verticals, the Scrum Masters could get together and talk about how to do remote work. Then, of course, the teachers got together when there was something, how to teach something specifically remotely. And of course, there were user researcher groups, and there was a group for communication who were to handle writing the materials, mostly for the teachers, user guides, basically, and video, how to use the tools. But this is the motivation graph. So we started at 100% the first weekend, and on Monday on, everyone realized, well, it's COVID, but you still have to work. And everyone disappeared. We couldn't make any decision. And I wanted to do a quick checkup in the second weekend, whether how did the teacher start? But I was never able to do another user research session again. There was just not enough momentum anymore in the company. And no matter how many volunteers we accepted, the actual active participation plummeted, especially at Easter. Too big organization chart, not many active people, no one knows what to do. Schools and their actual issues became hot potatoes for some reason. So people are doing, it's someone else's job. No one took up the job to have the schools, the issues they came up of CRM. Usually they were regu and they would need to call the schools, and no one was to call the schools. And so we didn't have contact with the teachers and the schools. And this was an enterprise from day one. No one knew the other people. We had different values, value goals, different interpretation. There wasn't any visibility, and no one was sure what to do. And although we had asynchronous lifestyles, you see, some people had dinner at 7 p.m. Some people were only available at 7 p.m. because afterwards they had dinner and basing the kids and so on. So we had an asynchronous lifestyle. And we originally had an agile setup with stand-ups and everything, but no one ever could agree on where should the stand-ups be. And even if they agreed, they suddenly went out. And I tried to solve this asynchronous lifestyle with processes using Jira, having onboarding checklist. Everyone got how-tos and intro videos, which they were to read. And I asked Scrum Masters to call up the team members one by one each week, at least once. This is how an asynchronous company works. But this is not a success story, unfortunately. Because even if you created, for example, Red Manta is a Hungarian-built tool. It's a half automated quiz, so you can actually give grades and points for certain questions, and the rest of the questions are automatically graded. We created Kanban videos for parents how to do project management inside the family, like how to have stand-up with your kids each morning, and have parenting articles, how to handle different situations. And we have a Q&A site for the teachers, but it's like a Stack Exchange or Stack Overflow. But it turns out that teachers are better at helping themselves on a Facebook group than having a Q&A site. And basically, the Facebook group is much more popular because there are the peers. We try to have a different organizational setup, and we were too late. We didn't have for 6 weeks, unfortunately, even if it's a crisis, because no one was to call the schools what the problem is. And even after we called the schools, there were no one to know how to solve the problem. So we had no connection to the market. We tried to scale from day one because not just there were 160 schools, but there were also more than 100 volunteers, and we tried to have a scaling. And we didn't keep in touch with the base enough, and users just helped themselves. So the teachers formed these groups and they helped themselves. And we had not many domain experts available. We had some, but they were also trying to put fires at their school, at other schools, at different organizations, and at home, because they were also parents. So what can you learn from such an experience? First off, in terms of a crisis, domain experience weighs much more than general knowledge. I can build up whole government organizations out of zero, but that takes time. And in a crisis, you don't have time for that. Usually, despite every single stakeholder saying there is no time, there is. But here, speed was key, and you have to make progress visible, and you shouldn't have many interdependencies of work in terms of volunteer organization, because volunteers will just disappear, and they will say, "Oh, something came up. Sorry, I can't participate in today's meeting." And you have to design, as a service design, the volunteer experience. You have to have onboarding in place. You shouldn't make it too bureaucratic to help. You need to make and maintain human connection. You need to have, for every volunteer, to have a group or at least a single person where they have face-to-face, even through video connection. And you need to make sure that they have a success in the first 24 hours after joining, or tops 72 hours. And online is different. You need to make sure that communication is visible, but it's also easy to have a glance of it. you have to prepare for the asynchronous life. I guess a lot of you can't participate today, and I won't be able to participate for 24 hours. I'm sorry, because I will have to sleep as well. So I will need to watch some videos later. You have to bring context with the task, because simply people will leave and someone else will have to take on. And a tip for you: look up how open source works, how open source contribution works, and read GitLab's handbook, which is an asynchronous organization through the globe. Thank you very much. Ákos, was I in time?
And it was a first. Thank you.
No, I'm sorry.
No, you were absolutely on time, and it was a great story. Thank you very much, Adam, for sharing it with us. I have seen that there are questions to also Adam and to the other speakers we had here, but it is time for us to wrap up and give it over to the next extremely fabulous team that is coming after us from Brisbane, Australia. So if you would like to ask any additional questions from our speakers, please join us in the UX Budapest session. In the next 1 hour, we'll definitely be there, but also for the more global community, stay for the Brisbane, Australia session too, because that is going to be awesome too. Thank you very much again for giving us the stage today, and I think we're out. Goodbye.
You, Ákos. Thank you, everyone from the Budapest team. That was great.
Yeah, and I know that Hungary is often good at online participations, and I'm happy to say that although it's it's the morning and it was only the third talk, but you established a record for concurrent users. So currently, and we are establishing it at 929 people. So thank you for that. And yeah, thank you very much for the speakers as well.
It's 4 times more than our biggest meetup ever. So thank you very much for the support, world.
You're most welcome. We're pleased to do it. And thank you for contributing.